So I'm here at the Lewes Castle now, and we're just going to have a look at the signpost inside the castle grounds that explains the lead up to the battle. So in 918, Lewes was listed as a defended burh or borough in a document called the Burgle Hidage. Burhs were needed for defence because of the danger of Viking raids. A section of the ditch around the burh was discovered near St Nicholas Lane in 2007. So as of 1918, we already know that there were Viking raiders coming in. So when we go back to the beacons that I put a little video up on, they were probably being used around then as well. Then we move to this, 930. King Aethelstan said that every borough had to have one moneyer making coins. A few boroughs had more than one. Lewes was the only borough in Sussex with 2 moneyers. So that obviously makes it more important than most of the other places. Again, we have to ask why. 1066. Duke William of Normandy invaded England. He defeated the English King Harold, and that may well be Harold Godwinson, who was the father of Magnus, who was the son of, he was the man that was in St John sub Castro in another video I put out. William became King of England and is known as William the Conqueror. Work on Lewes Castle, built for William de Warenne, probably started within 2 years of the invasion. And so we already know that there was a burh here, and then the castle is changed by Warenne a bit later on. Now we move down to here, 1086. The king ordered work to start on what we call the Domesday Book. This was a survey of property and its value throughout England. It was meant to help the king know how much tax he could make people pay. Okay. And things have changed very little since then. William de Warenne and his wife Gundrada visited the great abbey of Cluny in France. They then founded the priory of St Pancras in Southover. We then come to here, 1100. The castle was enlarged. A second motte with a shell keeper on top, a strong gateway and a curtain wall around it. Now we go to there. William de Warenne III was not a successful soldier. In 1141, he and some other knights ran away from the battlefield at Lincoln. Then he joined the Crusades. This is quite interesting. Thomas Becket was murdered on Canterbury Cathedral on 28th of December. One of the 4 killers was Reginald Fitzurse. On the 31st of December, the killers went to his house at South Morling. According to legend, when they threw their weapons onto the table, it threw them off again. This table is in the Anne of Cleves House and Museum in Lewes. So why had he come back here, for one? It's quite interesting. And where was the king when he gave the order or made the suggestion that this man was a bloody nuisance, and then these 4 men went off to kill Thomas Becket? And Thomas Becket is known to have been in Lewes. Again, the answer's coming up. Now let's have a look at this. A group of powerful barons forced King John to sign a document known as the Magna Carta. For the first time, the absolute power of the king was limited. The Magna Carta protected important rights such as allowing appeal against unlawful imprisonment. So this is important. Where was this document created, signed and enforced? Where was King John when this was brought about? Again, it's a question I don't know the answer to, so we'll have to work that out. That's all rather uninteresting. Now we're at the point here. In the aftermath of the Battle of Lewes on 14th of May, the castle was still in the hands of the royalists. It was attacked by Simon de Montfort's troops, but was surrendered when it was clear that the king had lost the battle. Now, we've got to understand why the king was here. Why was he here? This is really important because nobody seems to talk about this. And the reason he was here is because he lived here. All of them did. King John, Henry, a few of the others, and Edward after him. They lived here right up until they were beaten here and surrendered the castle. And from then on, Lewes fell into obscurity, and I think it's something to do with the fact that they don't want this remembered. Plus, we also have this document called the Mise of Lewes that they were forced to sign, which was basically another Magna Carta. King John had basically ignored the Magna Carta and carried on doing whatever he wanted. Simon de Montfort had got rather paid off, along with all the other barons, from just being forced to do whatever they said. And then they came and took the castle again with them in it. So the question is, why were they all here? Because they were living here. Why did they come and attack them here? Because they were living here. And this was the seat of royalty at the time. And that is incredibly important, and it's something that nobody has asked the question of, why were they here? And it's incredibly important. They were here because they lived here. So why were they living here again? Because Aethelstan had already been here all this time back, and before him you had the Mercian kings living here, and Hamzi at the time before this was more important than Lewes, and it was a major port, as was Lewes, but Hamzi was far more important. And we know King Aethelstan held his Witan there in 925, I think it was. So why was he here? Again, it's because Lewes was incredibly important, and it was important because the sea used to flood the entire valley, and it was a major, obviously because we have the two mints, we know that it was a major town of importance at the time, all the way through. But why was everybody here? Well, it's because initially the Romans were here, and we always seem to build on top of where we've lived before, because the resources are all there. So it makes utter sense to continue to building in the place that other people lived, because they've already put in the infrastructure for the things that you need to survive. And then we have so many more pieces of history that connect Lewes far into the future. Thomas Paine, Lewes Priory, the dissolution, Henry VII. There's so much stuff that went on in here. I don't know how many people it killed in Lewes or Sussex, but you've got to think that the plague was probably the last great reset, and that was a time at which a lot of history was forgotten, changed, altered, mistranslated, and it seems that Lewes just became somewhere rather obscure after this, but it is one of the most important places in the country.